Is your small business growing? That's the question we address right here on the Grow Your Biz Show. It's where we interview strategic entrepreneurs who inform and inspire you on your solopreneur or small company journey. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Grow Your Biz Show. Hello and welcome to episode number 83 of the Grow Your Biz Show. This is the place where we inspire and inform emerging entrepreneurs. Hi, I'm Paul Madsen, host of the program and founder of GrowMedia.com. Dell, GrowMedia.com helps small business owners to find their perfect sales pitch and to find their perfect marketing niche. That's what we do at GrowMedia.com. This is Del Stites. He is the co-director of the Scandinavian Midsummer Festival held in Omaha coming up. And we're going to hear all about that festival right after thanking our sponsor. ActionCoachOmaha.com is the global leader in business coaching for small businesses and businesses of all sizes. If you need to clarify your business and if you need to have some accountability in your business, contact Jim Barger at ActionCoachOmaha.com. And we're back, and this is Del Stites, the co-director of the Scandinavian Midsummer Festival held in Omaha coming up in June. Del, thanks for coming out to the show.
Thank you very much. Enjoy it.
Well,
beautiful day.
Yes, beautiful day. Glad to have you here, and glad to have all your props here and a chance to talk about the Midsummer Festival. It's a fun event. I've been involved with it for a few years. When does this festival happen?
It's going to be Sunday, June 23rd, so it's coming up in a couple weeks. And it's from noon to 4 at Elmwood Park Pavilion, just south of UNO.
Okay, right. And that, in case people don't know, the park is, Elmwood Park is just south of Dodge Street, south of University of Nebraska, Omaha.
60th Street, yeah.
60th Street, and a beautiful location for it. We've got indoor and outdoor things going on there?
Indoor, and it's handicapped accessible, so it's a very, very lovely place.
And an important thing, how much does this festival cost?
It's absolutely free.
Absolutely free.
And we do have a lot of children's games, so the children can play all afternoon without any cost.
Well, great. Well, let's back up a little bit into the history of the festival. Del, let's talk about how it all got started, that kind of thing.
There are two major holidays in the Scandinavian world, and Scandinavia, if people aren't familiar with it, are those northern countries: Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, and what I forget?
Norway. Norway, yeah. Sure, okay.
And there are two major holidays. One is Christmas, where people just sort of eat themselves silly with all kinds of wonderful pastries. But the other is what's called Midsummer, which is a little bit of a misnomer because it's not actually in the middle of the summer, it's the start of the summer.
Right.
And so it's usually we celebrate on the winter or the summer solstice.
Right.
And the longest day of the year. So Swedes would go out and have farm dances, and they would party and drink, and then they sort of slide off into the woods to celebrate watch the sun come up, or it never went down really.
And it's the longest day of the year.
Longest day, and the sun dips down a little bit in parts of Sweden, so you have almost 24 hours of daylight.
Yeah, and I've known lots of people who've traveled to the Scandinavian countries, and that is that long day. And I'm sure that if one lived in Denmark, Norway, or Sweden, or Finland, etc., that they would like to enjoy the start of summer because their winters are so long and dark.
People, the sun shines, they go outside and just look at the sun.
They're so excited, yes.
Yeah, but it's now it's a national holiday for all those countries, and they don't understand why we don't have a day off for the coming of summer.
No, I'm down for that.
But and now it's a lot of family parties, and of course the putting up of the Midsummer pole, which is like a big maypole.
Right.
And it usually has this with the decorations with flowers and rings, and it's 10, 15, 20 feet high. And it's quite a job to decorate it and put it up, and then people dance around it, ring dance around it. So it's a lot of fun.
It's fun. The kids jump in and help out with the decorating of the pole, and then everybody lifts and heaves it up, and it's an accomplishment. It's kind of the symbol of the whole event, and therefore the dancing goes on. Yeah. Do I have, if I'm going to go to this festival, do I have to know how to do Scandinavian dances?
No, most of them are simple. Hold your hands and go in a circle.
Walk around in a circle. Yeah.
Try not to fall over your feet, but there's no special dancing.
Sure. Well, and I just for somebody who's not familiar with Scandinavian traditions and things like that, I think, Del, isn't it just kind of a nice old school event? I mean,
it is.
Instead of your 9-year-old staring at his phone 24/7. Or
it is. We try to keep it traditional. We don't have booths and so on that aren't related, or activities that aren't related to Scandinavia. So we don't have a tractor pull, and we don't have a beauty contest and things like that. So we have everything is pretty well Scandinavian, from food all the way down to crafts and so on.
Oh, there's tons of all that. We're going to talk all about that. So the general premise of the event is music, food, crafts, booths, games. I almost forgot the games. Tell us a little about the children's games.
Well, we have a lot of different kinds of children's games. We have a little Viking area which are for the real young, and there's the crafts, the water activity crafts, and painting and things like that. We also have, which might interest the families, we have free face painting, which is charge, and that's really popular.
Always a hit, yeah.
But the major games we have tug of Thor, tug of Thor. We have a tug of war. We have a three-legged troll race, sack race. Yeah. We have a new game that's new to us in America is Kubb, K-U-B-B, and it's a very ancient, over 1,000-year-old toss game where you throw basically sticks and try to knock down pins. It's very popular in Scandinavia and now in America.
Right. Kind of a cross between bowling and shuffleboard.
It is.
No skills needed. It's to be able to throw something.
And
right?
Keeping up with the times, we have a troll corn toss game.
Oh yes.
Hole toss, and we have little bags which look like trolls. We're throwing those into the hole. We also have something for the real little kids this year. It's it's sort of sweeping Scandinavia now. It's in Germany and elsewhere for basically young girls, although boys are doing it too. And that is hobby horsing around. And kids actually name their horses. They learn how to do triage and they galloping and pacing and so on, and little jumps and so on. So we're going to have 5 of these that kids can use. And we'll have some rings set up that kids can ride their hobby horse around.
And which country is this one?
This one's Sweden, of course. Yellow and blue is Sweden.
Yellow and blue for Sweden, right.
So my wife's from Sweden, so I had to bring the Swedish one and so on.
Hi, Ingrid.
Yeah.
So yeah, there, a lot of, as you talk, I think of, again, I kind of said it before, but I think about how the kids today are so wired into their devices and their games and things like that, and if a parent wants to get out there and have their kids do some of that old school stuff, the tradition stuff, this is a good place to do that.
It is. So we have also for the young men and women that a little bit older, we have a Boulder Toss. We're actually throwing boulders to see it for distance and so on.
You want to stay away back into that one in case somebody's really strong and throws it really far.
That's right. So we'll have things to decorate. For example, girls will have these little garlands that they wear around their head, and they will be available at the festival. You can see a girl here that has one. The legend about these is that on Midsummer, young girls would go out into the woods and forest, and they would pick 7 different wild flowers, because that's the time the flowers are up, and they would bring them home, put them under their pillow, and that night they were supposed to be dreaming of the person they'd later marry in life. So it's a very romantic time.
I thought you were going to say they're going to the woods to find the person.
No, well, sometimes that happens too.
If the guy's out drinking in the woods, who knows?
That's the older kids. Unfortunately,
make our own traditions here.
Unfortunately, aquavit has become a major part of celebrating Midsummer in parts of Scandinavia.
Well, I'm very sad that you didn't bring something along in particular. Let's talk about the food.
Oh yes, well. The food is really very much a part of that. Besides a couple of booths that are doing mostly pastries, which of course are wonderful, we have more is kyrk, which means in Swedish grandmother's kitchen. And there we're going to have traditional Swedish meatballs and mashed potatoes and then herring. And I know people, pickled herring sounds very strange.
But it's great.
It's great.
It's great. It's got that mix of kind of a tart and sweet.
It is.
And it's a little fish, you know.
Well, I figured the Scandinavians would eat almost anything that swam in history. I think they were so hungry that it was as long as it's pickled, dried, or still moving, they would eat it. Well, the other thing we're going to have are we have what's called a Swedish sandwich, which is a kind of a cake with layers in it and different flavors of salmon and so on. And we're also going to have the Swedish pancake type crepes with various sauces on them. So
okay. Describe what a crepe is in case somebody doesn't know.
A crepe is a very round, flat pancake that's folded over, and most people like butter and lingonberries, which is the sort of national syrup of Scandinavia from these wild berries. Or you can put a nice salmon sauce on it and so on. They're very good. So,
yeah, that's great. Well, and tell me about maybe you mentioned it, the one thing that you always run out of, the meatballs.
Well, we run out of meatballs. Usually we make over 1,300 meatballs each year, and they seem to go very quickly.
Yes,
so we're going to try a few other things as well as those this year to balance out.
Good old Swedish meatballs.
Yeah.
Did you talk about all the meatballs, the crepes, what else?
Yeah, well, Swedish meatballs are actually smaller than the Italian ones, and we are used to serving them dry, although some families have them with the gravies and things like that on and so on. Breads, we have a lot of different Scandinavian breads we'll be having at the festival, and the usual pastries.
Is there any kringla hanging out there?
Oh, yes, they are. We have our Kringle man from Elkhorn, Jim Uren, is not able to come this year, but he's sending over with the Danish museum people his Kringles, so there'll be plenty of Kringles to buy, and lots of homemade goodies. This is our 10th year, and many of them have been 10 years.
Wow.
We began when a 100-year-old club called the Noonday Club, Scandinavian Club, finally dissolved, and we said after that, well, let's do something, and of course it was either Christmas or Midsummer, so we chose Midsummer as being our festival. And there were in the 1920s and 30s Midsummer festivals in Omaha, but as the war came along, things seemed to die out then, we're reviving them. And we really want people to revive and recreate their Scandinavian heritage. And as people are doing more of their DNA research, they're finding that many more people are Scandinavian than they thought they were. So and you don't have to be Scandinavian to come to the festival, obviously.
What are some of those DNA search companies? I can't remember.
Ancestry.com.
Ancestry.com.
And so 23andMe.
23andMe.
Yeah.
And, hey, check out an ancestry thing. Maybe you have some Scandinavian blood in you and you want to come down to the festival and celebrate that. Back to the board. Again, they're all volunteers. What, about a dozen people or so?
A dozen people, and they almost all of them, I think, have some Scandinavian roots to them, although some are there by marriage. So we adopt them. So that's good. Yeah. And we have most of them are now retired, but it's time for them to sort of pay back. And I might just mention about Scandinavian. There's a growing entrepreneurship around Scandinavia, including Midsummer, where online you can see all kinds of businesses selling Scandinavian products. Again, everything from people that will ship in dry ice food from Scandinavia to Scandinavian dolls and horses. This is a typical Dala horse. In my wife's country of Sweden, this has become sort of the national emblem of the country, and they range from very small ones that are probably $15, $20 up to huge things that cost $1,000. So there's
life size.
Lindsborg, Kansas is a source where some of them are made, but most of them are imported from Scandinavia.
Okay, good Swedish territory. Well, that brings us back to the booths. Tell us about some of the booths that are going to be there at the festival this year.
Well, one of the booths that gets some of our greatest business is a genealogy booth we have on Scandinavian genealogy, where you can go and get advice about finding your ancestors and documenting it and what to do and what not to do. And that's always very popular from people who have done it themselves. So that's a great.
Well, that's neat.
A great booth.
And that's not a computer thing, or
no, she has access to computer, but because of the time limitations, you can't do a search for everybody.
No, but it's a good place to start,
it's
right?
a good place to, and she has the ID.
And what's that called again?
It's Scandinavian Genealogy.
Okay.
So it's genealogy.
Okay,
booth.
great. So there's a booth that does that, and who heads that up?
Donna does, and she is very good, and she has a long background in her work. So,
Wonderful, wonderful. Who else has a booth there this year?
Well, Lotka, Miss Lotka has a booth that she sells lefse things. And if you don't know what lefse is, it's not so much Swedish as it is Norwegian. It's a very flat kind of bread, I guess you'd say. It's dry bread, flat dry bread with you can put butter on and so on. And for many people, it's standard fare to have one in your hand and to eat with the other hand, or to have it with dessert and have jam and things on it.
Sure.
So, She sells the
presses and
presses and the equipment, the rollers that you make, so on.
Yeah.
And we may have some apple skeever. One of the members says she's making apple skeever, which are the little more fried dumpling. From Denmark and so on. So.
And I know Becky Lotka is her name. Becky has a book also.
Grandmother.
My grandmother, Making Lefse with Grandma.
My grandmother,
or
something like that. Yeah, very attractive book.
Yeah, it's a great book it's a children's book.
Yeah.
Very beautifully illustrated about the whole process. Again, just a great way to preserve traditions and stuff like that. So check out that book. I think it's available everywhere. Becky Lotka is the author. Who else is at the?
We're going to have Betty Anderson and her husband Gerald. She's just a extraordinary baker, and she's usually sells out of everything she brings. So come early and make sure you get some of her torts and other things that she makes.
Sure.
We also will have what we call a hemslöjd, and that's just a Swedish word meaning home craft.
Okay.
And committee members and other people donate Scandinavian items, and then we sell those, and those then go to support the festival. So that's one of the ways we get the festival.
Sure.
Each of the clubs in Omaha, many of them that Scandinavian also will have booths, so they'll have information.
You can name the clubs if you want.
The Museum of Danish America will have a booth. Independent Order of Vikings will have a booth. Vasa of America will have a booth. Sons of Norway will have a booth, and so we should
these are
have
pretty much educational, just a way for people to learn about all these different organizations, because these are kind of under the radar organizations.
They're not. We're not the Scandinavian community in Omaha. Although a lot of people related to Scandinavian. Those that are active Scandinavians is not real large.
Right.
So we're not like the Italians, Lucia Festival and things like that. So we're much more of almost a community family get together, but a lot of fun.
Right. But that's again, it's just a great way for people to learn about all these not hidden, but kind of under the radar clubs and organizations that are out there to preserve this legacy. And man, I just really encourage. I mean, yes, I grew up in a town that was 7 miles away from West Sweden, Wisconsin. and another suburb of my 1,000-person town was called West Denmark. And so that kind of gives you a little hint about where I come from. The Able Skeever feeds, the round pancakes, and the old Smash the Barrel, and all the old games and stuff like that. Not very few, but there are millions of Scandinavian heritage people who maybe didn't have that deep of an immersion. But I'm just encouraging people to come out and enjoy, just from a fact of diversity. It's not all blonde-haired, blue-eyed people running around there.
Absolutely not.
We have everybody coming to this festival, and it's just a way to learn about a different group of the world if you don't happen to have those roots.
In fact, the idea that Swedes are blonde is only a proportionate thing, because although about 10% of Caucasians are blonde in a normal population, about 25% of Swedes are blonde.
Okay.
So it's just
there
are that many more that look blonde. So you say, oh, there's a blonde.
You'll find everybody of all backgrounds at this event, and it's just a good educational way to go. What other booths do we have?
Well, we have entertainment. I want to mention that Greenblatt C, which are very popular
Say musical group combo.
Group, yeah, with traditional music and modern music as well. Everything from polkas to round dances and so on. And you know more about them.
Well, it's a husband and wife team, and they've been doing this for years and years and years. They have converted an old school building. Is it Avoca?
Avoca,
Nebraska, not Iowa. And out of this building, they create music. They print music, they have music concerts, they have music lessons, and what's so cool about them as well is they have the grasp on so many different instruments and traditional old school instruments. I mean, from the things you've never heard of. I mean, there's usually you have a string or related string that way.
Yeah.
But if you like music of any sort, you want to folk music is kind of their basic foundation.
Yeah,
they do weddings, they do everything.
They play all over. In fact, I just talked to David this last week, and he said they were headed out to Sydney, Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
for a folk festival. And I thought, wow, that's a real drive.
That's a 7-hour snooze
that's
fest.
A commitment.
But there's a Wendy's in New York.
Yeah. We also have the Omaha Scandinavian Dancers.
Yes.
And that's been an ongoing group for, I don't know, maybe 20 or more years. And they dress in costume and they do traditional dances, Danish a lot, some Norwegian and Swedish, but they really have, and they do a very nice job.
And they have the oh my gosh, accordions and music. They create music and traditional attire and all that. It's fun to watch.
And they play inside and I might mention that our our kitchen is inside a pavilion, which is very lovely old pavilion. Looks like it's 19th century.
Yeah, it kind of ties into the theme.
They dance in there on a floor. There's restroom facilities there, water and so on.
Sure.
So we have a very pleasant place to sit down out of the sun, but also you can be out in the open area. And I really would encourage people to come up, be there by at least 1 o'clock to before that, if you can, to help decorate the Midsummer pole. But to put it up.
That starts things off there, doesn't it? Any other sponsors that we didn't mention yet? We got
Let's see.
Most of these mentioned.
I think so. I might say we have about 20,000 Lego pieces.
Yes,
and we have a huge Lego table, and we have all kinds of Lego. And so if you want to park one of your kids there.
Don't bring them to the Lego movie.
That's
bring
right.
them to bring your kids to the Scandinavian Festival where they can play with Legos. Lots of Legos, more Legos than you have in your house.
That's right. And I think that's how we got some of them people. It's downsized. I might mention that we have, this year we're emphasizing some on Denmark. So besides some appleskiver and so on and some pastries, we're also going to have a 800-year representation of their flag. That's the oldest continuous national flag in the world.
Wow.
It was 1219. It was when it became official. They used it before that.
Wow.
But 1219 became official.
1219.
1219,
wow.
And now 2019. So this is the 800th anniversary of the
Danish flag.
Dannebrog, it's called. It means Danish cloth.
We don't have an example here.
No,
but
we don't
we
have
can
that.
put that on there.
I did bring I just got off a boat hat.
Right.
So you probably have seen immigrant films and pictures with hats like this.
Sure.
The costume I have on is more for midsummer dancing.
Okay.
You'd only wear it once or twice a year.
Yeah.
And it would be too nice and it'd be hand sewn and so on.
Yes. Okay, well, time's getting away from us. Let's talk about the sponsors. We talked about the booths and the food and the dancing and the games.
Yeah.
The sponsors are critical to all of this, and you can reach Del Stites if you want to come in late under the wire and be a sponsor
Absolutely.
as well.
We're looking for volunteers.
We'll get his contact information on the screen, but let's talk about some of the sponsors briefly.
Okay, well, the Scandinavian Committee groups, Independent Order of Vikings and Vasa, are really major financial supporters for us. And then also the Norden Club Foundation of Lincoln, and we have a pretty good sized contingent every year. It comes from Lincoln that sponsor us, and we'll have a booth as well at the.
What do these clubs do in the?
Most of them are now kind of culture dinner clubs. They usually have a program every month or every other month and so on, and they have a dinner together, and their membership is usually very minimal cost.
Sure.
But it's basically a social club and a dinner club. And,
okay.
and you don't have to be Scandinavian to belong to it.
No. Okay, great. How about some of the others? Betty and Gerald Anderson?
Yeah, Betty and Gerald Anderson are basically Swedish, and she's our wonderful baker.
Right.
Cindy and Wayne Masson just do everything for our committee.
Ton of work.
We couldn't do it without them.
And appreciate their sponsorship and such.
Let's see, Ruth and Virgil Johnson. Virgil is in the law firm Erickson Cedarstrom, which they support us. Virgil and Ruth do, and he is not only an attorney, but he's also the Norwegian local counsel for Nebraska.
Okay.
So he takes care of anything legally for Nebraska.
Okay, great. Sure.
The Sons of Norway also support us. We're very pleased that they're on board. We try to reciprocate with their activities. Stein Hordvik is fairly new to our group. He is a Norwegian immigrant from many years ago and has become very active in that. Mm-hmm. And then Ardith Johnson is a Scandinavian senior citizen that helps us out.
And individuals can, if they want to help promote the Scandinavian culture, they can donate to the nonprofit organization as well and be part of that.
If you have something you want to donate that day, bring it along with you and we'll sell it for the festival.
Yes, and again, it's just helps kids learn more, helps adults learn more, helps everybody learn more and enjoy more in this great day. Couple other final sponsors to mention, Erickson Cedarstrom. Tell us about them.
Oh, they're a major law firm in Omaha, and they, you can tell by their name, they have Scandinavian roots. I know they have a Lincoln company as well, but it's a very large and very old and venerable law firm. I'm very glad to have.
Yeah, we appreciate their sponsorship.
Virgil sort of heads that up for us as far as our contact.
Awesome. And lastly, another full-time business is a good sponsor of the festival, Little Scandinavia.
Yeah, Little Scandinavia is the sort of focal point for merchandise at Scandinavian. It's an Elkhorn on Main Street.
Some of these kind of things, maybe?
Yes, and if you want to have good food, if you want to get clothing, if you want great gifts for weddings and dishes and plates and you just name it, they are the focal point.
And where are they located?
They're on Main Street in Elkhorn, Nebraska.
Just west, okay.
So the Museum of Danish America is in Elkhorn,
yes.
Iowa.
Yeah.
Little Scandinavia is Elkhorn, Nebraska.
Yes.
And right on the Main Street, Old Town. And
okay, great.
They've been wonderful.
Lastly, I want to put in a plug. I don't think we hit it too hard. The Danish American Museum from Elkhorn, Iowa is coming. They have a great display. 10 seconds on what they do.
Right. If you haven't been to the Elkhorn Museum, you need to go there. It's an upscale major museum focused on Danes in America. They are going to bring a tent. They will usually bring a couple of their interns that are from Denmark with them. Yeah. They'll be bringing their kringles. They'll have decorations. They have a display that they'll bring as well.
That's all for now on the Grow Your Biz Show. I'm your host, Paul Madsen. Check out growmedia.com to learn to promote your company and your passion and your business as well. And until next week, go on out and grow something.